Welcome to Self-Perfected.
Uh, Whoa,
Cam
Christine,
was Cam was
too
ready.
fast. What the
Oh,
hell?
I thought you said, "Are you ready?"
I said, hang on.
I'm waiting for the live stream.
Hang on, it's coming. I just hit go live.
Cam's
And
about
we're
to take
live.
a. Looks like you're either gonna fart or shit, or both.
And why not both?
Why not? Why not?
Best of both
Yeah.
worlds.
That's I guess what we were just talking about before the start was Trump and DeSantis. And Mitch, you started bringing up Shiva within all this. Apparently Shiva's running for president, even though he's not an American-born citizen. Hey, somebody's got some feedback.
No, I know it was me. It was me.
Okay, all right.
Christine's listening to Owen Benjamin in the background.
No, I'm listening to our live stream in the background.
She wants to hear it twice. She's like, I want to hear you speak, but then I want to hear it again.
Yeah, everyone loves that when that happens on the phone. Like when you're talking and you can hear your voice like repeating what you're saying. Is it just me or everyone loves that, right?
I love it. Christine is
Isn't it the best thing?
particularly dedicated to listening to us. She wants to hear every over and over and over again, you know?
Hey, before we
But,
get started though, I just want to point out like people I know in the comments are going crazy right now. Everyone in there asking like why do I have all these marks, right? Am I like a meth
one even-
head? Like what's
I didn't
going
even
on
s-
here?
Oh,
What is going on?
Your laptop
Camera,
is not
your
even
video
that
camera's
clear.
not that nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you processing? You're processing.
You talking shit about my Logitech stream cam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck, man. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just not destined to have great audio. I mean,
Or
video.
visual.
Looking at the settings.
You should study
forget-
Destiny.
It's Katie was like, you need to get better lighting, you need to get this and that, but no matter what I do, it doesn't really seem to make it like high def, like real nice. I mean, it's a stream cam, it's supposed to be nice.
But-
I mean, it's not that expensive, but still.
Better
Alright,
than
well,
your
anyways.
camera.
Well, I just got all these like red marks on my face.
Why?
Wait, hold on.
What happened?
Did the bees get you
You
finally?
guys have to guess.
Oh,
Bees.
bees.
Everyone in the comments guess.
You took
So-
your mesh off around the bees. You're like, nah.
Clearly, it was.
I'm one with the
Everyone
bees.
says it's the bees in the trap.
I want to dispel some myths about the bees real quick. There's a little bit of a learning. I'm not in any means by any means an expert. There's a little bit of a learning curve. I mean, you have to put some time in up front to sort of know what the hell you're trying to do. But then once you have them, or at least from our perspective, like we just check on them once a week. It's like not really like a big thing where you're constantly like dealing with it or anything. I'm sure there may be some times where you have to do some stuff or whatever, but that's pretty much it. So
Pretty low
in
maintenance.
case
So-
anybody out there wants to get bees, it's not really, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. You have to know, like when something happens, you have to know what to do. And I think that's part of where like all of like the time and stuff comes in of like knowing all that. But I'm just kind of like, we got them. Let's just see how it goes. Not really too worried about it. If they all die, they all die, you know. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
So
Where do you
my-
order a bee colony from?
Well, you can like get them from companies and they'll ship them to you, but there's so many farms and like East Texas is really good for bees apparently. So there's like so many farms, local farms where I don't know how they do it, but I'm assuming they trap swarms and then they have a queen that's mated and they make sure and then they like develop that colony in a little box and then they sell it.
Who's the bee
And
that
I
gets
mean-
to mate with the queen?
The drones.
All of them?
It's
Or
like
is-
I
or
don't
they're
really know that
specific?
much about it, but it's like she will fly out and then she'll mate and then she'll fall down. She'll like go down to the ground or something. I don't know if she does it multiple. I think she might do it multiple times. I'm not sure, but yeah. So it's not like they're in there mating with her. I think it's like she goes and flies out, and there's a period of time where they try to mate with her, and then
Oh,
she's
okay.
either fertilized or not. And then like all the eggs she's laying is from that time she mated. So I think they get mated a bunch, and that puts more and more and more sperm, and that sperm stored in there. And then she's like, I
She
think
just
that's how it works.
Store it in her belly?
Or is like it's the eggs get all fertilized. I'm not really sure exactly how it works, but then she will lay like thousands of eggs a day. It's insane. I don't really understand it because there can't be enough room for that. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not an expert.
Okay. All right, cool. So
Meaning I'm kind of just going into it without really trying to study too much and spend too much time on it, other than the initial, like I went to a class just to kind of wrap my head around it. But
yeah. Okay. So
so it's
okay,
not bees.
it's not bees. Maybe what happened, you were putting things into the wood chipper and then it spat out at your face.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
Spiders.
The wood chipper was a
Spiders?
long time ago, Jake. It's not
Hey.
spiders.
You can have a wood chipper on your property. I don't know.
Well, you do
Okay,
actually. have a
Okay,
really
okay. I
small one,
know
though.
what it is. I know what it is.
We don't ever use it.
I definitely know what it is.
What?
There was I don't know if Rebecca said this or someone said this one time. Maybe it's Jonathan. They're talking about how when you're doing your process, like if you're not physically changing with your body and like having like stuff come up, you're not going hard enough. Basically, that was their interpretation of it. And so that's my guess is you were you did a little too much self-forgiveness and then you released some fucking trap
Dude.
memory.
Dude,
And
but I will
manifest
tell
it.
you this story real quick. Last fall, so this past fall, it was right after, actually, it was during our TT Ranch event, right? I had this rash. I don't know if y'all ever noticed it, but it was like red. Did you notice that?
I noticed it. Yeah.
And like it didn't really itch initially, anyways. And I thought it was maybe poison ivy or something. But then after the event, I was just like, I think I was gonna take a shower or something, whatever. I took my shirt off, and it was like my entire chest, stomach, everything all over, like all over, like from here, like that, all up and like around here. So
Did
but
you
not
take
on
a
the back
picture?
or anything? Not on the back.
Are you
or
about
anything.
to debut it on the podcast?
I don't
Drop
think
the
I
picture?
did, but
Well,
all
just
like
imagine.
red, like all red,
Damn.
like red, really red. And then it started like evolving into becoming really dry and like itchy, like almost like a psoriasis, like a psoriasis.
Hmm.
And I've had throughout my life, like when I was little, see, I have like, actually, I mean, I don't right now. Can't really tell. It's kind of shiny on the light, but my elbows are not. That's interesting, actually.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
interesting.
assumed that if I was going to look down, it was going to be super dry and like scaly.
Yeah.
But like this used to be always like constantly like red and dry and scaly, like when I was a kid. And my parents would take me to dermatologists, proctologists, urologists. I don't know, I'm just kidding. But we'd go to like dermatologists and stuff. And they would be like, they would just act like they don't know what it is. And then they would just give me some kind of topical steroid. And it would never make it better. It would always kind of like make it kind of more irritated in a way. Well, anyways, then there was a period I remember exactly when it was. Probably back in like 2013, something 2012-ish, whatever. 2014, I don't know. Where my leg, on the side of my leg, became really red and scaly like psoriasis. But now that's not like that anymore. And now my elbows are not itchy, which I'm just realizing, which is crazy. Like they're not even red at all. Like they're very smooth, like a normal elbow. You guys take it for granted. You guys are just sitting there like, yeah, that's an elbow, dude. What are you talking about?
No, I've seen your elbows. So I'm like,
You know
oh,
what I'm
that's
talking? No,
cool.
but dude, like right
Yeah.
now, if you looked at it, you'd be like, that's not your elbows, Cam. Where'd you get these new elbows? Like, seriously. Hold on, let me see if I can turn this light off. Look at that. That's just a normal elbow. Look, no
Wow.
redness, no.
Wow.
Ooh, Logitech
the
cam.
proof,
Damn.
Right? It's the
Look at
proof.
that.
If you felt it, you'd be like, that's a smooth elbow.
Okay. All right.
Are you putting
nice.
beef tallow on your elbows?
No, I am not doing anything about my
You know
elbows.
how-
Otherwise I would have known that they weren't going to be. I was assuming when I looked down, they were just going to be red. That was like a fact.
You know how I would describe your elbows before?
Please.
It would be like, you know, when you see those dogs, like dogs have like that little patch where their elbows are. That's how I would describe your elbows. Like sort of like that. Like that, you know, like there's like a little dry patch with the
It's like
why are you
dry
looking like
skin.
that? Like you're like I've never even
I
It's
have
like, I've
dogs
never
and I've
seen a
never
dog
looked at their
before.
elbows. Damn.
you don't know that
Okay.
dogs have
Who
elbows?
put
That's
it
the
in the
first
comments
thing
if
I
you've
look
ever
at on a
looked at a
dog.
dog's elbows? Okay.
That's the first
and,
thing I look at.
and you're not Valley. I'm sure Valley's looked at dogs' elbows because she worked.
Yeah,
with
but
dogs.
sometimes you just
Aside
say,
from that,
like you automatically just look at it when the dog has those types of elbows. They
Yeah.
like you can't just not look at it.
She gets it. See, now I know why you and Christina are so compatible.
Okay.
She's like, yeah,
this is
you
like
study the elbows.
this is so
That's-
funny because Cameron goes, yeah. Did you notice that that rash I had on my chest, and Drake's like, "Oh yeah, I noticed that." And he's like, "Do you notice my elbows?" He's like, "Yeah, your elbows are like this." Like, damn, you have X-ray vision or some shit, Drake?
No, I've
Where do
known
you think
Cam for
elbows
a
are?
while.
On the inside?
Okay,
Where do you
listen.
think
First off,
skin is
Okay,
at?
okay.
What
It was
do
an
you think
analogy.
skin is
Cameron.
on? That's a great question.
Wrong type
First
of
off,
have
goggles,
X-ray
Mitchell.
vision. How do you like my shirt? Oh, I don't have X-ray vision. Jesus Christ. You're like, okay.
So Mitch, let me
Wow.
give you some context. Let me give you some context. When you see people with this skin complexion or darker, they have been impulsed with like taking care of their skin, like putting on lotion and like looking at it, like, oh, you're ashy or whatever, like you're dry or whatever. Because when somebody with my skin complexion is dry, then somebody's white, right? You don't even white people are ashy all the time. They just don't know it, right? So
We're just constantly covered in ash. That's why we're so white.
that's it. You guys aren't actually white. You would just use some lotion. You'd have some skin color.
And I'd realize we're all from Africa. There we go.
That's it. Duh. Didn't you know that? Come on. Hello.
Such
Second
bullshit. It's
largest-
like we're all obviously from the Pleiades.
We're actually all from the
I didn't get to that part of
Atlantis.
I thought it was
Studying.
Atlanteans.
I know. Just
I actually had a woman tell me once, she was like, I went to some handwriting class where like they're supposed to like look at your handwriting and tell you about yourself through your handwriting, something like that. Anyway, apparently she was also some sort of clairvoyant, I don't know, psychic. Anyway, I went with my friend. She was like, "Oh, you guys have been friends for a long time." I'm like, "Well, I mean, since high school." She's like, No, I mean like a long time. Like, you guys are Atlanteans. You guys know each other from Atlantis."
yeah, who the fuck isn't?
It's like,
Uh,
thanks for letting me know.
so by Atlantis, we don't mean like it's a human. What is the word? Not a human.
We don't mean it's the resort in the Bahamas. Okay.
Clearly not that.
Cameron. Okay, and
Cameron's
you're gonna
confused.
pitch us on something.
I'm like listening to like the Atlantis series, and I'm like, this is all just recorded at the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, and when you get to the end, they actually pitch you on a timeshare.
Come
That's
join
pretty
us.
funny. But it's like, you notice how like growing up, your impulse with this idea of what Atlantis is, and it's like
Mhm.
some underwater civilization where it's just like you just gotta find it. It's just there somewhere. It's like people don't really understand the full dimensions of what it actually means. It's a lot of things like that. World War II,
Reptilians.
reptilians,
Elbows,
elbow.
skin
Mitch is learning
conditions.
so much right now. My skincare
Everything is-
routine is nothing. So, anyways,
No, that's not true. That's not true. Your skincare routine is hard work
And
and
showering
process. And process.
like once a week.
process, right? So,
Yeah.
so to go back to the point, elbows now nice and smooth, no redness. Pretty interesting. Okay.
Mm.
So I had this like that psoriasis. I was going to show you an example, but I don't have one. But I had that psoriasis on my leg, and it was like real itchy for like a year. And then it's just gone. And I'm not saying I didn't do anything about it, but I wasn't like directly focused on it. For a bit I was, but I'm like, well, I don't know. So it's like you just keep walking your process. Look at the points where you have to push yourself in your life. So anyways, going back to that point about November, it was like all red all over, and like it would be so itchy, like I couldn't even sleep. Like you can ask Katie, like I was like, even doing the bedtime with the kids, it was like I would just be like, okay, guys, I just need to like lay down and I'll read to you, but I just need to like be perfectly still. Cause like if I put a shirt on or didn't put a shirt on, I would put like coconut oil no matter what. It would just be like, it'd be like, imagine like if you even touch your skin, you're just like itching, like, oh, fuck. Like I can't even describe it.
Dude, that sounds
It's like I can't even relate to it because I'm like, I remember how intense it was then. And now it's like, oh yeah, and it's just not there anymore. It was just like, and so for a while it was like super dry, itchy, and then it just started going away. And then at a certain point where it was just like left in my armpits, where it was like real red and like scaly, where I would like pull like dried skin off. Like it was like a sunburn almost, like every day, but it was like really itchy. And So anyways, and now it's just gone. And like,
That's
what would have
right.
happened if I'd gone to the doctor?
He'd give
They
you
would have been
some-
like, they don't know, and they would have given me a bunch of medications and
Yeah.
shit like that.
And then
and
Actually,
you know what I
suppressed
did?
it.
The only
What'd
thing
you
I
do?
did that was like a sort of physical thing other than self-forgiveness, points like that, just the normal process stuff, do my TT. The only intervention thing I did was I started taking these probiotics.
Oh, that's good. What kind of probiotics?
It's called, I think it's like Synthol AMD, something like that. I think that's what they're
Never heard
called.
of it.
Because Katie, she was going to like this farm to get chicken or beef or something, and the woman said that her husband had a very similar point, and then he, or no, I don't think it was the rash that he had. He had like ulcerative colitis, and
Okay.
I had also been having a lot of issues with digestion and stuff. So I was thinking they're related,
Oh, okay.
right? So anyways, I started taking like a bunch of these
Actually-
capsules of probiotic like every day, and then now I've cut back on it, but I still take them. But now it's changed a lot.
Actually, isn't that like ulcerative colitis like one of the main contributing factors to it is like H. pylori or like some sort of bacteria like that anyway, in your stomach. But anyway, uh, Christine, I thought you might say something, but I don't know what I thought you were going to say.
We
About
never
what?
guessed what
About
this was.
probiotics?
Oh yeah, we still don't know.
Yeah, the thing on his face actually. That's
Oh, my
She did
guess?
help.
My
Yeah,
guess?
yeah.
I feel like the chicken like peck your eye, try to peck your eye out.
If
you look,
it's the Orion constellation.
Orion's belt.
I thought you just got one of those face tattoos.
Orion's welt.
Orion took off his belt around you. Huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. So what happened? What are you doing, Matt?
No, I was just playing with Caius, and he likes to grab with his little fingernails and scratch.
That's so
Oh,
cool.
wow.
I was gonna say Caius, but I was like, does he even have
Guys,
that many teeth?
Please help. No, just like like babies, they like to grab, right? And then
Yeah.
sometimes he'll just like grab and start like squeezing down. Oh, I'm doing it to myself, like squeezing down with his nails, right? And then I just grab it. I just grab his hand, and I'm like, hey, or someone's will be like, ow, and like I'll show him like, hey, that hurts me. Right? Like
Yeah.
that hurts when you do that, right? And I'll just pull his hand off of it. But it's like
Yeah.
they don't understand yet, and then through that's how they start to understand. Like,
So
oh,
so
okay.
let me ask you, Cam, do you ever like smack his hand when he does that?
You yell at him then,
Yeah. Do you
make him feel like shit.
then like
I give him a lecture
squeeze-
on respect.
because I'm kind of half being serious because I've definitely seen parents
Yeah.
where like the kid will like grab their hair and then they will smack the kid's hand or they'll pinch the kid or they're like he knows better. He knows better than to pull my hair.
Right.
It's like-
Parents will ask me, they'll be like, like, I'm really dealing with this thing with our son or daughter or whatever, being like really violent and aggressive with us. And they're like 7 months old or something, or like a year old. And I'm like, I mean, there could be a pattern, but this isn't that. This isn't like he's just trying to hurt you. He's like playing and he's grabbing and stuff and he's learning like how to interact with stuff, right? Because he
Yeah.
doesn't, how would he understand that would hurt you?
Right. So how's he supposed to learn, Cam? He's just gonna keep doing that to you.
If you don't
Your
hurt
face
him
is gonna
back.
look
He's gonna
Like-
grow up to be one of those, bullies
You're-
and abusers.
you're gonna
Right.
look like you've been abused at home. People are gonna see you and they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
wow, dude.
They're gonna start gossiping me about me at church.
For sure. For sure.
You're like, what is Katie doing to that man?
He obviously does meth. Did you see his face?
That's why you moved to small town Texas.
Yeah.
I see. You're actually running a meth ranch.
I'm surprised no one found the mobile home back in the property when they were riding around on the ATVs. Stay at least 50 feet away from it.
I knew Techno Tutor was a front for something.
The mobile
Just had a
meth
hunch
lab.
this whole time.
Yeah.
It's so funny. There's some people who they'll like see Techno Tutor and they'll be like, you could tell they really resist the idea of actually taking responsibility for what goes into their mind and what they accept and allow. And they will come up with the most and tell explanations. It's like, well, what if, when it's, doing the thing on the screen, maybe they're like, putting in like messages from Satan or something.
You know
Like,
what's so funny? You know what's so
You think
funny
we
about
are.
that?
It's self-forgiveness.
What's so funny about that is like, okay, so you're saying it works, right? So just do it.
If it's like if you're afraid of a message from Satan, like what the hell, man?
So okay, there was something I wanted to bring up that I started talking about, Trump, right? And specifically, why was he on CNN? It didn't really like he's always talking shit about CNN, and CNN's always talking shit about him.
Why would
Why would they
CNN
host
do
it?
that?
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is straight up just WWE. Like we're just
Dude,
watching
I
wrestling,
realized the same point.
right? Right? It's like, okay, come on, guy. Like,
Okay, I knew this kid in high school who really believed that. I don't know if he actually believed. It's hard to say because he would like if you would say like it's not real, they would get really angry.
Hmm. Yeah. I definitely
know?
knew kids like that.
And it's kind of the same thing with the politics, isn't it? That doesn't mean that can't be any solutions politically. And I think that's part of the challenge with it is it makes it seem like it's all just for show and therefore you can't ever change anything politically. And I think I know politics is a dimension of changing the system.
Yeah.
It's just, and part of it is the show. Part of it is the entertainment and the all that stuff. But yeah, I saw the same thing. I'm like, it's just WWE. It's like actors acting, you know.
Imagine if you had to change the system through WWE. Like you gotta become like The Rock. Actually, you gotta like, but also it's not like those guys don't work hard in WWE, right? It's like those guys work their ass. If you ever look at like Ric Flair's story or like any of those guys,
Yeah.
they are actual athletes, and then they have to
It
go out.
doesn't like sort of detract from their effort, just the fact that they're acting.
Right.
It's crazy though.
Right.
I remember hearing an interview with some people who got out of it and like just how hard they work those guys. Because you'll get like a concussion one night, and then next night you're back on the road or wherever, however they do the circuit with all the different episodes, and it's like they get fucked up. They're like tendons and everything in their body,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's so wild. Okay, here's a question: do they decide who's going to win beforehand, or is there actually some element of like what the crowd wants?
I think they do decide who's going to win beforehand, but they're also really in tune with what the crowd wants. So, like for instance,
It's sort of like improv that's scripted, I guess.
yeah, like
I
so
don't
so
know.
they'll develop a character. Like to develop a character is like, okay, who does the crowd really like? Oh, they love this guy. Like this guy's really playing to the crowd, like this, and like he knows how to work the crowd, and everybody loves him. We're gonna develop this character to be the hero, essentially. And then at the end, he loses, or at the end, like he wins or triumphs or whatever. And so like they'll have it where it's scripted to the point where like the guy will lose, and then they see, oh, the crowd really got into that. They were like, fuck, they really want him to win. So we'll have a comeback story for this guy. And so there is like Cam was saying, there's this, it's scripted to, it's like a loose script that you have. And
It's
then
an
things go
evolving script
on.
that they're doing
Yeah.
in real time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a kind of, it's cool. The
It's like the
concept.
original sort of like algorithmic story
Yes.
writing in a way where it's like you're looking at
Because
the
at the
crowd
end of the day,
response. 'Cause
yeah,
you can see your audience. They're right there, basically.
Yeah.
yeah, and they have it is a business at the end of the day, so like they have to give the audience what it wants.
Yeah. And of course the audience is there for something really simple. It's just like fucking beating people up, talking shit, and boobs, right? Like that's what the audience is there for. Like, oh, here come the ladies. Ooh. Oh, here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin with the beers. Yeah. Like, dude, that shit was hype. I don't know about you guys, but I got
I'm never
really
I
watched
never got into it
WWE
when I was a
ever.
kid.
What?
Only
Oh
the
my grandpa
video
watched it.
games.
My grandpa watched it, and so I would see it sometimes when I would go to his house, but I
Yeah.
never got into it. I was
You
bored.
never
by it.
got into, oh man.
That's just me though. Dude, I was reading sci-fi and shit and listening to classical music. All right?
Lame ass little bitch. Lame ass little bitch.
But
You
in
were
my
out there-
mind, but you don't understand. Beethoven was kind of like the
oh my
Undertaker,
god.
and you could think of Mozart as sort of the Steve Austin, shall we say, with his lyrical twists of phrase.
Get your bitch ass out of here, man. You weren't out with your cousins like slamming each other on the bed, the Stone Cold Stunner or the Tombstone. None of that. No. Oh,
Drake,
yeah.
you were abused.
And I enjoyed that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they do, it's like a TV show. It's like the point of it. And that same thing, if you really look at it with the politics point and the CNN thing, that's what it was. It was like a WWE SmackDown. It was like, okay, I totally agree with Owen Benjamin's whole point about it. He was like, you know, it was like, oh yeah, Trump, you know, he comes in there and smacks that bitch down, you know, and like, you know, like that was the whole, and then you saw all the memes that came out of it and like the viral stuff and all that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like, but didn't he do the whole vaccine thing? And he's still selling it, and
he's still pushing it.
And it's like, okay, I mean, like we've said this whole time, like you can't look at this one person as the savior, but now it even looks like the system is sort of, it's not, see, it's the thing is like, it's not the system like a group of people who are planning, let's put Trump back. Maybe it is. I mean, that's a possibility, but I see it as more, the system is looking at what, like the system as like an algorithm. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's like a black box. You can't see the calculations. No one really understands the calculations, but it's like all the variables just always come together. And since the starting point of everything is just self-interest, then like, that's kind of the optimizing function of the system. And it's always just, there's this black box. We don't really know what's making the decisions, who's making it. It's all sort of it's like the decision-making process is sort of distributed out for everybody. And so some people are in positions of making a decision, but they're really just following the decision that position is supposed to make. Yeah. Because if they were to stand up within it, they would immediately be booted out.
That's
and I think that's kind of what happened with Trump in a way. It's like, from my perspective, there was a genuineness in his wanting to stand up within everything. But then it was like, now you're in that position, and can you fully stand, especially when you don't have anyone else really with any principles on your side? I'm not saying he fully had principles. It's just, I think it was like you get into that position and you're like, oh, I have to make certain decisions here. You know, with I have some example, flexibility, but a lot I don't. Huh?
With that example of like the black box in the algorithm that's optimizing for self-interest, because we were talking about this earlier before the call of how we've seen different people in our community step up, and especially over time, like a year or two, really like that's what it looks like to change a system. It's helping people push those points. So like, how do you see it as?
Hey, Mitch, bring up that point about like what you were sharing just earlier about the EQUAP stuff that you're listening to.
Yeah. Okay. So this is all in the context of like what it looks like to change the system. So I think that's just really valuable for people to see more on that. So there's some EQUAP interviews where they're talking about how, like, for example, everyone here listening to this obviously has now heard of Self-Perfected, whether you've seen it for a while or it's brand new. And
that. How do you know? Just because they're listening to this?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll get deep faked and then be like anti-self-perfected or something. They'll just be so fucking confused. So not everyone obviously in the world has heard of Self-Perfected, Destiny, Techno Tutor. Yet because we live in a sound reality and everything that is like the baseline interconnectedness of everything. So as certain people step up more and more, take on more responsibility, change their starting point, and work together, it's kind of like we give that example of a brick wall. The brick wall is like within each person, you have a brick wall, which is your vocabulary, every word you know, every word you can spell, comprehend, and process. And as you rebuild yourself, you become more effective and stronger. In the same way, we're all in this kind of collective brick wall as well. Whereas let's say your sum total of your like brick wall, your resonance, then it does have an effect on other people. I mean, your thoughts, your words, your behaviors, all of that, it has an effect on when you're participating with reality, what's coming through. And so as more and more people step up, basically in the EQUAP interview, they were saying this, is it now supports people who have never even heard of, let's say, Destiny, for example, to have to within their lives be able to like open up their next points of awareness and responsibility. Now, can they fully walk their process without it? No, because at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to the same principles of destiny. Whether you call it destiny or not, it's still just best for all, self-responsibility, give as you'd like to receive. That's the truth. That's the common sense of it. You can't stop the truth. But how do people get there is going to look different. But the point that I'm making, or that Drake, you wanted me to bring up, is as each of us takes more responsibility, does our process more effectively, you start to see it in how other people come in, and it becomes, let's say, quicker for them, or it's like a lot of the mud is out of the way and they're able to walk more effectively their process.
Okay, so here's, I'll add something to that. It's like you might be looking at this going like, oh, it doesn't seem like there's enough people who really understand this stuff for us to make any difference. But it's like, as you're doing your process and pushing yourself and learning to live based on these principles and use the tools, you're sort of I'll just use it. I won't try to explain it, but it's like you just make it easier for other people to sort of open up. And so you're preparing other people so that when you or someone else comes to them and starts sharing with them, they will be open to it because they've already sort of had the space to do it. So it's like as you're doing it, you're making it possible for other people to do it. So instead of thinking like, well, right now there's only 10 people in the world who are willing to do this process, but as those 10 people do it, it's like permeating out, and now there's 10 times 10 people that are willing to do it. Those people are going to not do it all the way on their own because they wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But they're like sort of seeing in their lives, like, yeah, it's like if you've met somebody where they complain about some things in their life and you're like, there's no self-awareness there, versus if you've met somebody where you start talking to them and you realize like, wow, you've actually realized a lot of like that you're responsible for your thoughts. And that's what's participating in, you start to see that you're a little bit more open. Right. It's like when we met Trey and Ashley, who live down the road from us. And the more we get to know them, we're like, oh, you guys really kind of understand some things. Like, why did they question not putting their kid in school and stuff like that? But my point is like, one, don't use it as a point of, oh, I don't have to do this because someone else will do it and they're going to change everything. It doesn't work like that. It's not like one person does it and that just makes everybody do it. It's more like as each person does it, it makes it easier for the people. It's like, imagine you sort of have a connection to other people out there in the world. You don't know who they are. It's like this vast interconnected like web of like lines. And it's like each point that you let go of, it's sort of like makes it easier for other people because they're not being held in by your point. And so as you walk your process, other people start to like be able to consider things more. I mean, this is not the same thing, but just think of it as an analogy. Like, why are people so upset, or why are a lot of people so upset about all the trans stuff on TV?
Because it's like spreading. And
it's like influencing kids, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if there's one person who like really believes in this stuff, and then they get other people to do it, and then those people put stuff on TV, and then it affects more people, you could see obviously how it can start with a few people and then spread out. Now, it's a more concrete way of looking at it. It actually works at a much deeper level than that with what we're talking about. But my point is to, one, not go into a point of someone else is going to do it, so I don't have to, because that's not the case. But also not go into, well, I'm going to be doing this myself and for so long, and what if no one else does it? Because that's like a big one. I remember, Drake, we talked about that, that point of, well, what if no one else does it? And it's like, actually, as you do it, it makes it possible and easier for other people to do it. And then all you have to do is go find those people, or someone else is going to find them. That, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a ripple effect that kind of.
Yeah, because who's going to do it just spontaneously, for one, and two, like it's this. There's a but Mitch recommended a long time ago.
Just me, or is his thing repeating?
His stuttering.
Okay.
You're repeating,
Drake, by the way. As I
hang
mentioned
on.
before, I love when that happens.
Yes. Okay.
More so than when it's my voice.
What I was looking at though with because isn't it like statistically kind of proven the way that a new idea kind of infiltrates reality kind of thing. It's like you literally have the innovator. So let's say like that would be like Bernard. Then you have like the early adopters, which is like all the people that started Destiny and or was the group. And then you'll have the people that are like the what's it called? The early majority, and then it goes down to like late majority laggards or something. So
Laggards?
what?
You say laggards?
You just said the L word?
Laggard? I don't know. Is that how you say that word? Laggards?
Yeah, it's laggards. It's innovators, then early adopters, then early majority, then late majority, then laggards.
Right. So it's like this. So you know what I mean? Like it's even like mathematically like a thing. If you just like, there's going to be people that naturally will be open to new ideas that'll adopt the thing that you're doing. And then there's always just people, oh, once it becomes mainstream, oh, now it's cool to do this thing because a bunch of other people have proven that it's being done.
And
Right.
it's not even a conscious thing necessarily. It's just like everyone's doing it, so now I have to do it.
Right.
Like if all of your friends are using iPhones to text you and no one has a landline anymore, and they're trying, hey, I'm trying to text you, you kind of have to get a phone to text. You know what I mean? I'm kind of a way of looking at it, like, why did all the old people get phones like to text? Because they
Right.
couldn't text with their grandkids or whatever, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
What I was beginning to say was basically like this book that Mitch had- was that. Is that the book he suggested? That's the book. That's the one. But the
Fusion of innovation.
diffusion of yeah. Okay.
Oh, the OG one.
That's why I got it right here, guys.
Yeah.
It was cool when you had the big library behind you in the early podcast days. Cameron just turn
Yeah.
around, pick a book.
You know, what's so funny about that is back then, that because I was at our previous house, I had a guy carpenter come and build that.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it wasn't like crazy expensive, but you know, it cost money. And I'm like, I could have fucking built that myself. Like, no problem now, you know? And like
Yeah.
but I had no idea about that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be cool. But this is like an office. So
What I was saying is basically that point of just finding the right people, finding who, instead of it being like this burden on yourself, it's like you can find more people who will join you, and that gets done. And that's literally what we're doing. Is like just finding the next person who's going to also take this on, and the next person and the next person. Every person that takes this on obviously makes a huge difference. Each and every one. But then there's also going to be people who like they have a network or a lot of talent or whatever, where it clicks for them even more so, where it's just like, oh yeah, this just makes sense. And they're going to run a lot faster. And it's sort of this point that we were also bringing up before of just, you look at one specific person and you may think like, okay, well, you know, it's slow for them. But then you zoom out just a little bit, and then you see like, oh, wow, look at how amazing their life is going now, or how they're impacting the people around them. It just took them a little bit more time in the beginning, because the way that you're raised actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
The environment, like
it's like
your
pre-programming.
structure. Exactly.
It's
actually
easier
does
for
make a
Justin
difference.
Trudeau to be Prime Minister of Canada than some random person who wasn't in that position. And so they're going to have to push through a lot more and change more.
Yeah, especially because he was groomed for that. He was specifically groomed by like Klaus Schwab and his whole group to be the Prime Minister of Canada.
Right. You know,
He
I was
also
thinking
has
too,
grandfather was prime minister.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that helps, right? Probably.
Also, like, wasn't his dad like Castro or something?
Yeah, I mean, his dad was like the president of Cuba or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so you doing your process makes it possible for other people, right? Does that make sense? That's what we're saying.
Yes.
But you building your business for those who are distributors makes it a reality, because that's the part where you are actively then saying, okay, oh, I found this person. They're open, because not everyone's going to be. How do you know? Like some people, when we started this, it was like, okay, now we have to get people to use this with their kids. But who's going to take it all the way and really fully apply the principles in every aspect of it, right? So Katie and I had to start doing that. But then it became a lot easier, like Jess and Mitch, you guys, like Owen and Chantel, like Megan and Carl, like you just keep going, right? Why are those people doing it suddenly? But if we hadn't really pushed through and like, anyway, so you doing your process makes it possible for other people, starts to open things up, but then building the business, how you actually find them and how you persuade them on to actively take the point on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because if you think, oh, I can just sit back and do my process, that's helping to a degree, but it's not the finalized point. You see what I mean? Because the person still has to be exposed to, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's the steps. Here's the points. Here's the tools.
Right. And that person still has to go find an income, and they still got to go, they're still going to be participating in the system. And so then it's like at a point though, as a distributor, you're able to then just fully do TechnoTutor. And now you're making all of your money, and then you're building everything with, like, as we're creating the new system, like it is the new system. And then as you draw it out over the years to come, we get into more and more positions of power. And then as we accumulate assets, like, let's say media companies, you know, I want to buy the main newspaper company here in Minnesota. Like, then we can put cool shit out into the world. Like how earlier you're alluding to how, like with the trans stuff, you get a few people and then they just get it on TV, and now it's impulsing millions of people.
Yeah.
Well, just imagine if we could put this podcast on TV and you're walking through the airport, and instead of you seeing some idiotic thing on TV, you hear our podcast, and then you're like, damn.
Did y'all see that whole Transformers thing I sent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah. How insane is that?
Well, they are.
They got
called
they got the
Transformers.
non-binary transformer. I'm like, they don't have a gender.
Right.
Right.
They don't have a sex. The idea, so it's fascinating. It's like, oh, a transformer, even the idea of okay. It's so interesting because it destroys both sides.
Yeah.
Because imagine being mad that they've made the male transformer can be female.
Yeah.
What is a male transformer? Like, what is a fucking robot? How is it? What is a male robot?
Wait.
It has a male voice,
No,
obviously.
no, Cam.
But doesn't that actually kind of lend to the transgender argument?
Cam, did you know that there are male and female connections to electronics? This transformer is going to cut off the part that plugs.
He's got like
into
the male
wall.
plug sticking out of his like crotch area. That's what makes it a male robot.
That's it. So now he's like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I want an outlet here. That's what he's
So they
gonna
did
have.
like a reconstruction surgery.
Yeah. There you go.
They,
So now
you know
he's-
what they should call it? Oh, dude, they should have named it the first transgender transformer. They should have named it Short Circuit. That would have been good.
That's cute. That's
It's
cute.
literally a male robot plugging into a male robot. It's like,
I like that. I was gonna bring up something about did you listen to that podcast that I sent you? The one about reading?
I don't remember. Can
Okay,
talk
I'll
about
tell
it?
you.
I
I'll
don't
tell you
remember.
about it. Yeah. So I just randomly I've been trying to get onto Twitter, like, because I've never been into Twitter. I've had a Twitter for, I don't know, since 2011 or something, but I've never actually been into it. And someone was bringing it up, and I was like, let me go check it out. They're like, you just got to clean up your feed and make it people that you actually enjoy. And I'm like, all right, I want to try that.
If you find the right people, it's like this weird hive mind on there, but it's like, I find actually a good amount of value from it in terms of like, how do you get attention from people?
Yeah, well, I'll figure it out.
The only thing I have right
Anyway.
now is Facebook and YouTube.
Okay.
You're not on Snapchat, Cameron?
Is that
Who's
a
on
social media
Snapchat?
thing?
You should do Snapchat because they have this new AI where you can talk to it. It'll be your friend.
Yeah.
You know how you don't have friends, Cam? We're gonna help you
You know,
out.
it gets lonely out there in Jefferson, so have an AI phone.
But no,
My friends, all my friends keep dying.
I don't know.
I'm
Are
friends
you
with
talking
my
about
chickens.
the chickens, okay? You're killing them. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
But no. So I found this podcast, and it was this it's just like, it's been just a few episodes. It's not like an actual full out podcast. But she was basically, she's an education reporter, journalist. I don't know. I had never heard of this position before, but she goes and she interviews people about their kids' education, stuff like that. And one of the things that she was interviewing about was these kids reading. And this whole episode was about kids are not reading. They've been taught a different way to learn to read. And that way of learning to read is wrong, obviously. And it's also hurting kids. And the other thing that she was saying was just like, and it's the most popular way of teaching reading right now because it was sold to us. It was really sold to us. And she goes on to describe, like, she's interviewing these parents, and the parents are talking about how, yeah, I put my kid in school. I want them to read. They're 5 years old, whatever. And I don't know how to teach kids how to read. So I just put them in school, and I figured the school was going to do it. And I put them in a school where it was like, this school is known for being a really good school, all this stuff. Right. And then she's like, oh, and then the pandemic hit. I could see my kid reading and how they were teaching reading. And I was like, what? And when my kid would come home with assignments, he would ask me to read it first, and then he would read it, but he would never read anything on his own. And it looked like he could read because he could read the story, like, I like trains and the train goes fast. Like he could read those things, I thought. But he never read anything new. And then they had an assignment one day where the kid had to do a test, and mom wasn't supposed to be able to help him or anything. So she's watching him, and they were recording it at the same time. And she just gives him a page, and it was like really simple stuff, like the toy is in the box, right? And I push the toy and it moves, and he's looking at the pictures, and he's like looking at the words, and he's like, the toys are fun. I have a lot of fun playing with toys. Like, he's just saying words that aren't even on the page, right? And like clearly struggling to read it at all. And the mom, what the hell? And then they played a clip of the curriculum that these kids are going through, right? And this mom said, when I saw what was going on, I started talking to other parents in the schools, and these other parents, some of them were like, yeah, but most of them, majority of them, at me like I had two heads. Like, I was like, hey, is your kid also not reading? Like, don't you think this is a problem? Don't you see what's wrong with this? And these moms were like, what? No, everything's fine. And then she went and put it on Twitter, like, what was going on. And then on Twitter, she found a bunch of parents that were like, yes, I'm experiencing the same thing from all over the country, right? And then one dad was like, yeah, I was also experiencing this. I went and started talking to the parents who were going to the same school that my kid was going to, really rich neighborhood. So it wasn't like it was like just the poor kids or whatever. He's like in a really rich neighborhood in somewhere, whatever, right? And he's like, and some of the parents, again, were like, yeah, but the vast majority of them were like, are you talking about aliens? Like it just went over their head. Like they couldn't even comprehend it. And they played a curriculum, and the curriculum was like this. It was like this. Johnny and Sue are playing together, and they get cucumber sandwiches, and they're eating these cucumber sandwiches, and then they run away, and their mom and dad are looking for them, and they're afraid that mom and dad might blank, right? And this word is covered up. The word is covered up, right? And the teacher says, okay, so let's use our rules for reading. Remember our rules. What sounds like it could fit there, right? What makes sense? What does it sound right? And does it look right? So
I would have guessed get divorced.
Right. Okay. Right.
Like,
so
it sounds right.
It was so funny because the interviewer on the podcast is like, okay, we're going to pause this clip right here. what are your guesses right now?
Can you say it
What
again?
sounds
Like
right?
what do you think it? What was the sentence?
Yeah. So the sentence was like, so the context that you're given is Johnny and Susie eat like cucumber sandwiches. They're playing, then they run away, and they're afraid that their mom and dad might blank them, right? And the word is literally covered up. And the teacher's asking, what sounds like it could make sense? What
Dude, I'm
sounds
stumped.
right, right? And then the third thing, does it look right? And so the interviewer is like, so what do you think? And it's so funny because we just did this yesterday, and I was like, all right, so what are your guesses, everyone? And we had like 10 people in a room, and everyone's like, they might find them, they might get upset, they might get like there's so many different things that you could come up with. And it's so funny because I was just like, well, according to this, you guys are all poor readers. You guys are all poor readers. And so the teacher then goes, do you think he miss them? Does it sound right? Does it make sense? Yeah, miss. And then she uncovers the word, and guess what? It's miss. And like,
It still doesn't even make sense in the context that you gave,
Right.
because
okay, I know.
they're running away
It's right.
forever. Like what?
Right.
Right. And so then it was so interesting.
I also was
because-
thrown off by the cucumber sandwiches.
I know,
thought that
I
had
was
something
thrown
to
off
do
too.
with
I
it.
was like, what the fuck? Right? Then the interviewer asked, she's like, okay, what? She was actually talking to one of the parents, and the parent goes, why wouldn't they just show the word and let the kids look at the word and then say what it is, and see if they can figure out what the word is? Why are they guessing? This is not reading. The hell is that, right? This is the way that most kids are being taught to read. It's super popular, and it's been popular for a little while, right? But
Isn't it weird because the large language models are basically predictive text?
it's
It's like almost like you're trying to get the kids to compete with like these AI things or something. It's something weird about that. Like, but
That
why
is
does it have to be a
weird.
guessing game?
Right, exactly. That's the whole point. And then what they found out from that was then they also followed these kids who were like 12 years old, who this is the way that they learned how to read. And their parents are just like irate. Their parents are like, oh my gosh, my kid does not read. Like, he sounds like he's reading, but whenever he comes, like, because he learned to read this way, whenever he comes across a word, he's guessing at the word. So if it's got the same, it looks similar, it sounds like it could fit in there, that's what he's thrown in there. So instead of effective, he's saying efficient. Or instead of, like, they gave a really good example. She said, my kid read, he read that in 1938, Poland invited Germany into the country
That's why I'm trying
instead
to
of
tell you guys.
invaded. Right. But like, it's so like, it seems like, oh yeah, it's just a little thing, like, close enough. They got the letters right. Like, the word, it's a similar word, but it's such a completely different context. How are you supposed to understand anything at all? Right. And so it was interesting because Christina and I had listened to that, and it helped me to understand a little bit better. Like, people aren't just being difficult. They really just don't know. It's not like they're being difficult because, like, oh, we're showing them this process and they're reacting to the process, or they're reacting to this or whatever. It's not that. They just literally don't fucking know. They don't realize it. They don't understand it. They would do that same response to anyone, even the person who puts their kid in the same school and is doing the same exact thing. They're responding to that person in the same exact way. Right. And this person's like literally just trying to point something out, like, bro, my kid's not fucking reading, and this is a problem. Like,
Yeah.
Don't you see this?
But now can you see, like, this is how this, it's actually really simple. I'm really glad you're bringing this up, everybody, because for those who are listening, it's like, understand how simple that your job is. Let's say you're a distributor, because again, that's kind of really who we're making this for.
Yeah.
Is distributors or distributors to be, meaning people who are going to like take on the task of actually solving this problem and not just being like, well, I'm just going to benefit from this process, but not actually take any responsibility. It's really actually a simple problem because parents have no idea what to do. And they're assuming the school is solving the problem. We know it's not. And again, this is an example. and somebody might think, oh, you crazy, just think you're so important, whatever. But I would suggest that all of us walking our process is why now parents are starting to be aware of their kids that are not able to read, and that the schools aren't, like, things are open. And I'm not saying it's like me personally, directly, everything I've done, I'm a part of this. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's all of us collectively. And also a lot of things that Bernard did that have been put into motion for a long time. And also just the accumulated consequence of our starting point as humanity. But sort of everything is kind of shifted into a point where now people are aware, more people anyways, of like, hey, the school's not teaching my kid. Now, instead of going in there and trying to convince them it's this school thing or it's that school thing, it's like, look, it's this simple. Regardless of what else you do, as a parent, you can do this part with your kids, and this will make all the difference. And it's really simple, and it's not a big deal to do. You just got to do this. And then anything else you decide to do, that's what you want to do. You don't have to overcomplicate it, because it is that simple, right? It's really that simple. Like, I called Katie real quick because I want to see if Seneca, because they're at the house, which they don't really get great internet. So she's going to let me know if she can do it or not practically. But I was going to have Seneca come on and just like randomly read something, whether she'll want to do it or not. I mean, I'm not going to force her to do it. So Katie's going to check and see if she wants to do it or not. She may not want to, which is fine. But if possible, it'd be cool. We'll see if she's able to or not. And the internet may not be stable. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just it's obviously a lot easier to see it in person, but it's like, I have no doubt my kids can. I mean, I'm talking about Seneca, the 4-year-old. Like, I know you could give her something random and she'll be able to read it.
Yeah.
And whether she'll understand it fully or not just depends on whether she has all that context or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could give her some book on business. Yeah, she could probably read most of those words. I know she can read most of the words. There may be some she doesn't know. But is she going to understand the context? Probably not. It depends on what is being said.
Yeah.
And that would be the only difference, right? Because they're not going to have all the different contexts necessarily for all of what that person's saying, right? So it's like, as the kids get older, like Max, I know he'll be reading, I don't know if it'll be books on business per se, but he'll be reading books that are outside of what he'll read right now because he'll have more context. He's developing that. Like, I was going to tell you guys this point. So Max has been reading Hardy Boys, and I mean, that's not the only thing he reads, but I really want to sit down at some point and look at how many books he's read over the past 2 months or so. Oh, here, Katie's calling me. I don't know if she's going to be able to hear. Let me see what she needs.
Jake, you were saying something earlier about a book I was referring to. Was it Who Not How?
Yeah. Yeah. That one.
God, it just glitched out. But yeah, for everyone listening, like, your mind will give you the objection when you. Oh,
Sorry, guys.
oh, you're good. You're good.
So Katie
mind-
called. She said we'll do it, but she's getting it set up.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, like when you look at the process, or you look at, okay, how do we change something as extreme as the system? Your mind will automatically feed you, well, how do we do it? How can I talk? How can I learn this skill? Blah, 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 blah. How does TechnoTutor work? But a way more effective question is, yeah, who do I need to become? Who do I need to talk to? Who can I talk to? Who can open up doors to more who's? Because when you have those right people that get it, it's like, that's actually what you want anyway. You don't, like, you need to know enough of the how, but really you just need the who's. That's really what we're after. It's just finding the 1%.
Yeah.
It's really just finding the 1%.
Yeah. God,
Yeah,
hit me
it-
with the super chats.
It was also interesting in that podcast though, because they're saying,
Okay, hold on, guys.
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt
nice.
y'all. Okay,
No, that's
Cindy,
okay.
can you hear me, Cindy?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second because I got to like set it up so that it can show on the video on my side. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna switch it to my Logitech for the microphone. Okay, can you guys see Seneca?
Yeah. Hey, Sunny. Ooh.
Okay,
is
so
that
she
the-
chose a book that they had at the house.
Nice.
Larissa.
Can you guys hear her?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Cindy. They can hear you.
Yes. What? Want to start?
Where do you want to start, Senna? You want to start reading?
So, here's the poster. So, this is just when they were babies. They have to sleep first. Next,
They're very cute.
move over, Clarissa, demanded Fiona. I want some of those blackberries too. Fiona was a big black and white Holstein, and Clarissa, be sure the Foster's town was
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Oh, Clarissa, said Tessie, I bet you found these sweet, juicy berries just for me. But I must have more room, dear. Tessie was a beautiful brown-white
Guernsey.
and very self-centered. Now Clarissa couldn't be seen back where that old fur so. Fiona and Tessie were always pushing Clarissa around. They nudged her away from the sweet patches of clover she found. They crowded his from the trees of the old road street. They showed her at the
Where did she stop?
They showed ahead of her at the feeding trough. But Clarissa never complained. It seemed to her that you had to be both big and bossy like Fiona or beautiful like Tessie to get what you wanted, and she was neither. Clarissa was just a plain brown cow.
Cool.
That's her.
Oh, that's her.
That's her.
That was a
Cindy,
long-
that was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
She's gonna see if we can see the. Kind of hard to tell with the glare with the actual.
Yeah. It's kind of
Can you
hard
see
to
it?
see the
Nah,
words.
it just
No, I
doesn't
can't
show
really
up
see
for
the
some
words.
reason. There's too much like. Yeah, it's whatever.
Fast or something.
There's Caius.
Clarissa, this one is Tessie, this one is
Cool.
Thanks for reading to us, Cindy.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. I'll see you a little bit later when I get home. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
That's cool. That's cool. That was I wasn't expecting it to be that long because it was like a picture book, but she just read like a whole paragraph.
No, I mean like that picture book. It has like paragraph style. It's not like a kid's little kid's book.
Yeah,
If I can find a passage, I'll show y'all.
that's
What
pretty
was
good.
that book called? Clarissa
Clarissa.
the Cow. Let's see.
Wow.
You got supercharged.
I'm finding a different book, unfortunately. If I look up Clarissa Cow, oh, here it is, by Carrie Talley. Let's see if I can find an example. Oh, it's so funny. It's like literally the passage she was reading.
Oh, nice.
Hold on.
Share it.
It's part of the passage she was reading anyways. Can y'all see this? This was part of what
Yes.
she was reading right here. That's so funny.
Oh,
Fiona
okay,
and
nice.
Tessie were always pushing Clarissa around. They nudged her away from the sweet patches of clover she found. They crowded her from the shade of the old oak tree. They shoved ahead of her at the feeding trough. But Clarissa never complained. It seemed to her that you had to be big and bossy like Fiona or beautiful like Tessie to get what you wanted, and she was neither. Clarissa was just a plain brown cow. That was the last little section she read. I think she read like 2 pages or so. Right. But I mean, so just so everyone can see, that is one of the paragraphs that 4-year-old just read on the fly. Okay. Now, what happens is at the age like kindergarten, first grade level, reading is you've read the book a bunch and they can like repeat back to you what it says because they've memorized it. That's not her obviously memorizing it. Because if it was, she would have memorized Wisconsin. She would have memorized Guernsey, but she had to ask, like, what is that? She didn't know those words. You know,
Yeah.
she didn't recognize them yet. That's fine. Right. Haven't done, we're not, she's just finishing level 1 in Technotutor, by the way.
Dude.
It's
So
crazy.
she obviously hasn't gotten to Guernsey and Wisconsin yet.
So
Right.
they actually have on this thing that I sent you, there was a recording of kids reading, right? And it was fourth graders, and the fourth graders aren't even reading that good.
I
The
just,
fourth graders,
yeah.
they were just like the
Like they had one proficient fourth grade reader, and then the rest of them were all just like worse and worse and worse. And they're like, yeah, this is the one, because they had one that was like intermediate, and then the one that was just like couldn't even finish the little passage that they had to read. And they were saying like I think 1/3 or 2/3 of kids at that level read like that, like how the kid who couldn't even get through the passage.
yeah.
So it's like Seneca is way beyond like a
And guys,
fluent
that's
reader.
30 minutes a day doing Technotutor with her.
Right.
That's what there's no, you guess that word, or what do you think this word might be? Notice none of that.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, like she could learn the word Wisconsin today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we could put it in Technotutor, she could do it. Like, cause she's done words, like she did the word, you heard her, she had complained, like when she was reading, that word was in there. Like I've seen her
Yeah.
do like independent words like that in Technotutor. Like it's
Yeah.
not really like the difficulty of the word doesn't really matter. Right. It's just a matter of whether they would be reading book, or well, in terms of why you would do some words versus others, you want to start with the more basic just to build the point. But it's not like she can't do a harder word in Technotutor. It's, to her, so different.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I just wanted to show everybody that, like, that's like so look at the risk I would take of like, let's just see how my daughter can read live on a video, because I know she can read. It's not even a question of like, oh, hope she doesn't mess it up. Like, what if she shows she can't read? Like I know she can read,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, Max, I don't even think people could fathom. Right.
He's reading so fast.
I'm so excited to see.
We should get
Dude,
Mags
all three of
too.
them. Yeah.
I took a picture last night. It's obviously on my part quite staged because he was just sitting there reading. So, but I wanted to read a little bit because everybody, I went into the room, Seneca was over reading, and I went to the kitchen, Max was sitting there reading. I forget what Katie was doing. She was doing something with Caius, and I was just like, well, maybe I'll just sit and read with everybody. So I went and got my book that I was working on and sat down and took a picture. So this is Max. You can kind of see, I don't know if it's gonna let me where'd he go?
You can just share it to your computer.
Yeah, I could, but yeah, you're right. It's not gonna, I forget that glare.
Man, that's gonna blow so many people's minds in San Diego because they've like heard little stories here and there of the kids, but then to have them see not just Max and Seneca, but then also all the other kids all come together. Like,
I mean, that's why we're always just doing like random videos. It's like, it's not marketing because anybody can, like, any of those approaches that are out there. It's like, you could just make a cool marketing video that gets you all emotional, excited. And it's like, but it's not real, you know? And it's always some little Asian kid. You're like, well, I mean, they're really good at memorizing. Like, that's what Max is just reading on his own. Look at that book.
Nice.
And he's 6.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's 6.5 now, you know? And like, oh, that's what I was going to tell you. So he's been reading a lot of Hardy Boys. He reads a bunch of different things. That was some book, I think, what was that one? I think that's called like the Math Inspectors or Science Inspectors. It's like this series I found. And anyways, so he's been reading a lot of Hardy Boys too. And he's been writing his own little books. And it's mostly like he draws little pictures and then has like the speech bubbles. Right. And so there's these ones, it's like, and each one is like its own story, but they all kind of go together. And it's like basically the Hardy Boys, and they're trying to find some criminal or something like that. And then they catch the guy. And it's so funny because he'll be like, oh no, Frank, there's a bomb or whatever. And Frank will be like, cool, Joe, let's get him. And then they'll see like the next scene, it's like he's drawing him and everything. And it'll be funny. It'll have like a stick figure with like really long arms, like going all the way to the other side of the page, like grabbing the guy or whatever. And there was one part where at the end it said, got him, chief, you know, because he was talking to like the chief colleague guy or whatever. But he had spelled it incorrectly. I think he brought, yeah, CHEIF, right? And I said, oh, Max, I was like, this is really great. I was like, did you notice this word here? He goes, oh yeah, I know, I misspelled chief. And I was like, oh, how did you know? He's like, well, I realized after I wrote it, but I just left it because he didn't want to like scratch it out and redo it, right? Because make the booklet messed up. But I'm like, it was like before I could even say what it was, he was like, yeah. I was like, well, how should it be spelled? He said it should be IE. I'm like, wow. Do you know what I mean? Like that's 6. And I mean, he's writing all the words himself by hand from
We should never
memory.
even practice writing.
Well, not, yeah, I wasn't even making that point, but you're right. But just the fact that he can spell all those words.
Yeah.
When you're 6 years old, 7 years old, they're trying to like give you spelling lists and like teach you to memorize words and stuff. Like they can spell all those words. It's not a big deal. So he can spell words from memory, no problem.
Yeah. It's pretty scary though, because like in that same podcast that Drake was bringing up, they were interviewing the parents, and then one of the moms, which is funny because she was even, I think, one of the stay-at-home moms who just happened to like be watching this reading curriculum or whatever, and she's like talking about school like it's this. She basically said the word like either it was sacred or it's like it's the place where you just expect your kid to learn. And it's like this, I was just telling Drake, I'm like, it's actually really messed up how parents have now completely separated themselves from the education of their own children and have completely just relied on the school to teach your kid because, oh, it worked for, basically, it's like they're going off the point of, well, it worked for me. I'm fine. I'm doing okay in life. But it's like now not even paying attention to like how it's actually changed a lot from when they
It's
were
like,
in
guys,
school.
did you realize the US empire is collapsing?
Right.
Did you realize like AI is taking over? Like you're not fine.
Yeah.
Like you were
Right.
fine in a system based on the education system you went through that no longer exists and you haven't seen the effects yet. I want to share this real quick just because Katie just sent it to me. For those who want to see just the full picture, this is what Cindy was actually looking at.
Oh wow.
That's what she was reading. So somebody can go back and listen to it. Because I know with her, she still has sort of that little bit of a baby accent, you know, where it's like you maybe can't fully understand her. Like I could clearly understand her, but I know some people may not be used to the way she talks. But also when you talk to her in person, it's a lot more clear.
I feel like she knows the words so fast, like it comes so automatic for her that she
Right.
like her speech like doesn't even keep up
Right.
with how fast
That's what I'm
she's
saying. When you
reading.
talk to her one-on-one, she's more clear. As you could probably tell if you listen, if you go back and listen when I was asking her, do you want to read or whatever, versus when she's reading, she's kind of reading fast. Like you said, that's exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
she's not pronouncing it as clearly because, you know, she's not aware also of like, oh, I need to perform this very clearly for other people listening because they need to hear. She's not considering that. Like you or I would be like very enunciative when we would read out loud on purpose, right? But she reads to herself. By the way, she can read this silently.
Yeah.
So not only can she read this, like if you observe the kids when they're reading on their own, they're reading silently. They're not reading out loud, like going over every word, like Clarissa. Like they're just reading it, and then they turn the page, and they're reading it, and they turn the page. Like they're actually reading, like not just performative reading. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to show everybody that. What were we talking about before that?
Well,
Yeah.
the point of
Oh, the
what it looks
system
like
collapsing.
with-
I got-
well, yeah, and what it looks like changing the system. So remember earlier you were talking about how the system is like this black box algorithm thing. How do you see all of this morphing together then? Of the combination of the kids being able to read, everyone walking their process, making it quote unquote easier for others, and the change of the system. Is it changing the system itself from the inside out, or is it making a parallel system where then people jump over from the old one into the new one we're creating?
Think of a system as a way of doing things. Right. So like you could have the same set of resources sitting right here, and you could do one thing with them, or you could do something different with them. So it's building in parallel. And as you build in parallel, you start to see more and more people shift over here and bring those resources with them.
Mhm.
Do you see what I mean? That's all it is. It's just like if somebody who has a really big network is like, oh, you know, I see the point of educating people with this. Okay, they bring that network with them,
Mhm.
right? They bring knowledge with them. They bring resources, whatever it is. All right. So it's in parallel. So even with the point of the system collapsing, you don't need to go into fear about it. Right? Because if you're pushing yourself in your process, you will get through. Don't worry. Don't go into fear. You do not need to participate in fear. The only reason you need to participate in fear is if you're participating in fear. And then you're like, I'm not going to do anything. And that's why I'm afraid. Like you're just judging yourself. And that's why the fear is there. So the fear is going to come up. And if fear comes up, we don't need to go, oh, I'm experiencing fear, therefore I'm screwed. It's like, no, like now it's the point to face it and to realize like, okay, here's where it's at. Here's my fear. How can I solve the problem? How can I share? How can I give? How can I, right? And giving is receiving as well. It's not only just give things away, right? But building your business as a Technotutor distributor, sharing this tool to others is giving. Are you expecting something in return? Obviously, that's called a business, but it is a form of giving, right? Giving doesn't have to be, shouldn't be self-sacrifice. And that's a big problem with what Christianity has impulsed into people, is the idea of giving is sacrifice. And you can only give if you're in a superior position. And it has to be a sacrifice. And so giving just becomes this sort of ineffectual thing, isn't it? Like a charitable type thing, instead of a actual real giving. You know, like a husband and wife give to each other. It's not one sacrificing. And they've even turned motherhood into a sacrifice. They've turned being in a relationship into I say they, you know what I mean? Like the system itself as our collective agreement so far. And therefore what we've created as propaganda to continually impulse ourselves with what we thought it should be. Right. But the reality is we have everything. Like our group has everything. It doesn't matter if you can see, like you might, okay. You could go to Lady Gaga's house. You'd be like, well, but look, she's got all this amazing artwork and beautiful cars and home, and she's rich and famous and all this stuff, but where's the substance? And is it sustainable? Right? So don't be fooled by the allure just of that point. Really look at the substance of it, right? And just realize it's a matter of, imagine if Lady Gaga was like, hey, I actually want to do what's best. Now, what do you know what happened right away?
She'd get smashed in the social media game.
Yeah, I mean, probably her agent would drop her immediately, you know, like, so a lot of that is illusory, actually, that you're impressed by, that you think is evidence that it's that person has something, is valid, whatever. A lot of it is illusory, and it's just based. And that's why I'm saying those resources can easily, if everybody in that network change within themselves or shift their starting point, those resources could be put to use in terms of what's best for all. Right?
Yeah. Are
Absolutely.
you saying she's a losery? She's losery? She's loser-like? Is that what you're trying to say? Just an adverb for loser?
Yeah, basically. The whole Lady Gaga thing is it's just actually like a slave master if you think about it. Right?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, all that stuff. It's just the slave master. It's like something that people are obsessed with that keeps them focused on that instead of actually considering what's best.
Yeah.
Right. And then you don't even know what the artist actually believes.
True.
What they actually think and how they actually feel and whether they actually agree with it. Because if they did anything against it, they would immediately be labeled crazy, bad, whatever, canceled, all that stuff. So
that poor artist doesn't even know what they believe. They don't even know what they agree with. Like they're just going along, like you said, they're just going along with what they've been told they have to go along with. That's why there's like rarely ever will you find an actor who is quote unquote conservative. Not to say that conservative is like the answer at all. It's just that they all have to fit into this one box. They all have to agree trans is the best thing that ever even heard of. Oh my gosh. And if you're not trans, like you're evil, you're bad. And like I will for my trans people, I'm right there with you. Like
you need to have compassion for everybody, no matter who they are. And if you don't agree with that, I will freaking kill you. And you're like, like, hold on, wait, back up. You take a class on logic here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's something that I wanted to bring up, and it was like something about something, but I forgot what it was about. So I guess that'll be next time that we'll figure out.
Yeah, we covered a lot of really good points, I think, in this one. I really like the points we talked about with what you brought up with like kids reading and so forth, because just to finalize that point, it's like Parents have no idea what they're doing, and the school system has no idea what it's doing. And it's a good thing to a certain degree, or it really is a good thing that now it's like the schools aren't really doing it effectively at all, because before it's like we need to go back to the way it was before. It's like it really wasn't effective then either.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just for the system as it was to keep everybody as debt slaves, it was sufficient for that. Is that what you want to go back to also? Also, let's go back to that context, because kids couldn't really read then either.
Right.
They weren't really teaching you anything you needed to know in life. They weren't teaching you. People always say, we need to teach kids about financial responsibility and taxes in school. And you're like, do you understand the point of those things? Why the fuck would they teach? That'd be like in your slaves. You're like, I need to teach my slaves about freedom. Like, what? That's the last thing you're going to fucking teach them. Like, so when was the school system ever good? Well, we learned to read when I was like, okay, so you went and got your fucking career job and got your pension and so forth, which now even that isn't necessarily certain.
Right.
Like, so there's nobody anymore that's good and is set and turned out fine.
Hey, I was looking at the word pyramid today, and a lot of the definitions have to do with like the stock market and about like borrowing on margin, right? Based on the market value or perceived market that you have in your stock, right? So basically, like you've got more stock. Now you can buy more on just perceived market value. That it's money that you're borrowing that you don't actually have. And then you can buy more. And when you buy more, now you have more stock. And now you can buy even more. And it just keeps going and going and going like that. And it made me realize, like, oh, that's where the term pyramid scheme comes from.
Yeah,
Right.
it's actually the stock market and all of that.
But what it's avoiding, or what it's diverting your attention from, is pensions, which are actual a pyramid scheme. Like it's actually literally the same thing.
What's
It's-
the problem with pyramid schemes?
Is that the government's not in control of it? That's
No,
the
no, no. But I mean,
problem.
like when people have a problem with it, what is the actual beef that they have with it?
The idea is that, well, you have to keep getting more people in, or it's going to run out.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay. Everyone would agree with that. That's the problem with it. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the premise of our economic system based on?
That you have to keep getting more and more people in. or
Infinite
it's gonna
growth,
bust.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's like, wow, come on, that's a conspiracy theory. It's like, no, like go study economics. We have to keep growing. It's all about. So, but why can't people make the connection? Because it's like they have been educated by that same system to not question it there. But anything that would potentially empower them, that's the problem.
Right. It's like, dude, you're not even seeing how this, like, you can see the logic there, but you can't see it here. You've been diverted. You have no education, really.
Do you know how people say like, oh no, God, the universe, whatever? People say that whenever they're talking
Yeah.
about something happening.
Right,
Like,
right. God, the universe, whatever.
I was really looking at this point the other day. No, that's all that. The real thing is life. And somebody could say, oh yeah, God, universe, life. No, they're different.
Right.
Because look at it from this perspective. When you think of God, the universe, what's the real point there? What is the starting point of that?
Somebody else is in control. There's somebody
There's
else
like
taking
one thing.
responsibility.
It's a thing, it's superiority, it's a greater than, right? But when you really look at life,
Mhm.
when I look at that, it's equality.
Right.
Because if I don't say the God universe, if I say life, well, you're alive, I'm alive, a plant is alive, rocks are alive.
It's
meaning
like
they're
here.
a part of life, they're a part of physical reality, the substance and everything. There is no higher, lower. And you might say, like, well, but a human is obviously higher than a rock. And it's like, but if you were a rock, would you see it that way? If you were an ant? Because,
Yeah.
okay, and if you think humans are so great, then what if you're something that's more intelligent and faster and stronger? Would it be therefore okay in your logic that thing is superior to a human, like a robot? You wouldn't say that because you're in the human body. So the point of life is that thing that connects all of us, that we are all participating in, that we're all a part of. And I don't know how to get this across, but it was when I was looking at the word life, I could just see like that has the word equality within it. And it doesn't imply superiority, inferiority, but the words God, the universe, all that kind of stuff, it has all of that embedded in it. So this isn't like I believe in universe, you guys believe in life, or you know what I mean? Like you guys are destiny, I'm more Christian. It's like they're not the same. There's
Yeah.
a difference. The starting point of superiority, inferiority versus equality. Because when you start with that point, then you have to consider a lot more. And you
Yeah.
can't just sit back and hope,
Yeah. You have to be like actually take responsibility.
So that's what we're here to do. Any other things you guys want to like leave it at that for today?
I
I
think
feel like
that's
we've
good.
just given the gravy train has just been pouring out the station.
That's good.
Okay,
So,
Owen.
do you have any title suggestions, or should we crowdsource a title?
Something about kids reading. Did we ever do one like kids can't read? I think we've already done something like that.
What about short
Is it
circuit?
different?
What about that?
Short
I like
circuit?
that one. Yeah, short circuit reading time. I don't know.
No, I think
Dude,
we did.
Holy
are you
shit!
s-
The Reading Rainbow was predictive programming about Drag Queen Story Hour.
That's it.
Damn.
That's it. That's the title right there. Reading Rainbow.
Could you totally see Reading Rainbow now? Like if they rebooted it and it was like
Oh,
all
man.
drag queens and shit, and like
Yeah.
It'd be
like
so
Lamar
gay.
Burton comes out like in a dress.
It would be so gay. Reading Rainbow. All right. We'll leave it at that. See you guys all next week. Right?
Right.
Next week? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
Bye.